the way Annie holds power all throughout the film, for me, is a masterclass in all the hoods: motherhood, womanhood, and priesthood. There was such a deep centeredness. There was such a rooting that nothing that happened moved her from that center.
Yeah.
Nothing that happened moved her from that center.
Yeah.
I let him out for a bit. You hear him? You hear him?
No. Well, we just, when you let him out, we knew.
Yeah.
We knew. He's out. Okay. Got it. He's out. We know. We were clear. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the ride. We talking about Remy, Thea's dog. Hey, everybody.
He's going to be a good dog one day. He's a puppy right now. He's going to be a good dog one day. He's a good dog, Savannah.
He is precious.
Okay. Welcome back to the ride. You're on the mothership inside the Black Woman Magic Room with the greatest podcast on earth.
G-Po. You can pick whichever one of you.
All right. I
tried to give you range, bitch. I tried to give you range.
I am one of your co-hosts, Crystal Tennille Irby, mother of 4.
I am Thea Monnier, mother of 3. I had to count.
You sure?
Yeah, good. 3.
I am Nikisha, mother of 4. 4. And no more.
Mm-hmm. 4 and no more.
4 and no more.
And this is Dim Black Woman's podcast. And today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about sinners. Okay, I have to say this again. I have been listening to Making Oprah. That was just a very Oprah-ish thing that I just did. So some Oprah moments may come out during this podcast, but we're doing something a little bit different. We have invited some of our listeners, some Black mamas, to come on and join in the conversation with us. And we're going to be talking about Black motherhood and sinners. It's just, we're really excited about it. We know that it's a great, I didn't watch Jamaican. Sorry, my husband just texted me, y'all. He brought the way you
Somebody bring you Jamaican food. I wish you would turn up your face, bitch. Where? I'm thinking where from? I want some Jamaican food.
Where they do that at?
Rashad is bringing me. He brought Jamaican food home. I wanted Thai
Who
food
turns
tonight,
it down?
as I wanted Thai food tonight, but I'll take the Jamaican food. It's right. Thea, don't.
I am. I absolutely am.
You are being judged. Because what?
Yes. I was like, do you know what I would give for somebody to open this door right now with a Jamaican?
I still miss the one over in Inglewood we used to go to.
That's right. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Hungry. Joe.
Thea calls me Oshun Savannah because she's like, I got a good man.
Savannah.
She calls me
got a good man, Savannah. And she'll be like, I want it Thai.
Right.
Like, bitch, some of us out here air frying every goddamn thing by ourselves, okay? If somebody were to show up right now with some Jamaican food, they might get something. They might. That's not an invitation, but that's just a prophecy. It's a prophecy.
To bring it back around, they might get what Annie got.
Instead of a little something.
They might get
I need to see what
invited
she
in.
sprinkled in that bag.
Might get invited in.
You might get invited in. That's a good one, Keisha.
Okay. So we're very excited to have this conversation. Today, Sinners is being re-released in IMAX. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. We're inviting in some of our listeners to have a conversation with us about Sinners and Black motherhood, because the leading lady in Sinners, Annie, played by, I'm going to let my co-host say it because I want to honor her name.
Masako.
You may know her from Lovecraft Country.
Yes, ma'am.
As well. So
she was in Loki.
Oh, I haven't watched Loki. I need to watch Loki, but I haven't watched Loki.
She's in the Loki series too.
Yeah. So we're going to be discussing her character because she is a Black mother. So we're excited to have this conversation with our listeners. So this is, I think, the second time that we've done this, and we really, really enjoyed it. So stick around. It's a really great conversation. So that's the only difference in the show this time. We'll start out with our church announcements, praise reports, and prayer list requests. Then we'll roll into our mac and cheese, and we'll close it out with Black Mama Say. And we'll begin like we always begin.
Let's get
with
it.
our responsive reading. So we have a chord number, or are we just leaving it up to the ancestors?
Let's leave it up to the ancestors.
Let them do what they do.
Let's leave it up to the ancestors. Gotcha. Let's see. All right. Here we go. So this is card number 4. Take up space, boo.
Take up space,
That's card
boo.
4.
Take up
and
space,
you can get
boo.
your Black Mama Magic card deck on our website. Wherever you're listening, you can look in the notes and find the link to purchase your Black Mama Magic card deck. Card number 4 says, Dear Mama, everyone needs a place to call their own. It can be a desk, a corner of the room, a table set up as an altar, or any other space you can imagine. This space is yours. It is not open for the public, and by public, we mean your kids or your partner. Model for them the importance of sacred space for self-reflection, centering, and creating. Teach them how to take up space while carving out a sacred, creative space of your own. So that's the card. Take up space. And our ancestor mindfulness quote comes from Bell Hooks. The book Art on My Mind. She says, It occurred to me that if one could make a people lose touch with their capacity to create, lose sight of their will and their power to make art, then the work of subjugation, of colonization is complete. And I chose that quote just to honor the creativity and the art that is Sinners and all the things that it's making us interrogate and look at, and the layers of it when it comes to the experiences and the humanity of Black people. But Take Up Space rolls us
That's
right
beautiful.
into our church announcements, praise reports, and prayer list requests. Can I go first? Do you guys mind if I go first?
No, go ahead. You know
Okay.
we like when you go first.
So first thing is, the reason why it's the perfect card to roll us into our church announcements is because the theme for Black Woman Creative Week, which is June 24th through June 30th, is reclaiming space. And our card today was Take Up Space. So just an outline of what we have in store for the week. So on June 24th, there will be a virtual workshop, Reclaiming the Mind, Meditation, and Imagination with the Mamas. June 25th, that's a Wednesday, we'll be doing something around Black maternal health, because every Wednesday we uplift Black maternal health workers and also amplify Black maternal health. So we'll be doing something around Black maternal health on June 25th. On June 26th, we'll be doing Bringing Flowers, Exploring Joy and Grief with Black Mama Creatives with Thea Moye and Akila S. Richards. That's their new platform, Bringing Flowers. On June 27th, that will be a rest and ancestor Veneration Day. On June 28th, we'll be doing a live event in Houston. Shout out to Black Woman Creative, who you'll hear from later, because she's joining us for this conversation. Stacey Allen of Nia's Daughters Movement Collective. And if you're not signed up for our newsletter, sign up for our newsletter, because the details about that will be in our newsletter. And there's some things that we're only putting in the newsletter that we're doing. We're not putting it on social media. Like, if we did not put on social media a post about being one of the listeners to come and join us today for the conversation, that only went out in our newsletter. So the details about that will be in our newsletter. June 29th, where are we going to be June 29th?
Cowboy
Where
Carter.
else?
Beyonce.
At the Beyonce concert in Houston. So we'll be going to see the ultimate Black Woman Creative during Black Woman Creative Week in her hometown.
I sit
In
there
her
and I'm like, this woman
hometown.
had whole twins, and she is still,
Whole twins.
and she is still giving us this.
And on June 30th, we will be releasing an episode. So that's the rundown for Black Mama Creative Week. So those are all of
Yes.
my announcements.
Okay, she
Very
got
exciting.
announcements.
I don't have any announcements coming up. Yeah, no, I told you I quit this church last time we talked. So that just means I'm on hiatus. I'm
She's on
That's
hiatus.
all.
resting
Okay.
and taking account
Good.
of what the next moves are. So no
Good.
announcements to be
Nice.
made at this time.
Good. Because you've been working
necessary,
hard
too.
for the
I was about to
past
say,
couple of
that's
years.
I was about to say that's necessary.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Mhm.
So
good.
ongoing stuff is that, I have the Joy check-in once a month for Patreon for those who are Joy curious. If you join the Patreon community, then we have monthly check-ins. We're usually sitting in one Joy-centered question per month. This month's question, in case you were curious, I know this month's question, and we sit in it for a month. I send prompts through the Patreon and then also the newsletter. But sometimes I catch myself muting or hiding my joy when I am in the presence of blank. That's a heavy question. That's where shit gets kind of real in the assessment. So we're sitting with that as a community, and you can join in and do that with us as well. Just a date to keep in mind, we're having our first in-person event for Bringing Flowers. We're collaborating with Octavia's Bookshelf and doing an event on July 4th because we're colonizing July 4th. And we're going to have a Joy and Grief event on that day.
That's
So as details unfold, I'll share more about that here. And the rest of it actually would be aligned with what we've already discussed with what Crystal shared with the event for Black Mama's Creative Week. And, just trying to stay up. Your girl, keep her on the prayer list. When you praying for everybody else, Auntie and them, just throw them Black Mamas on there because we're when you're committed and you're authentic in the work you want to do, it can move slower than you would like, but it's still moving. And it takes love and energy to do it. And I've witnessed these women do it, and I'm doing it too. So I'm putting us on the prayer list and thankful for you all as our listeners for sure.
I do have a praise report.
Let's hear it.
For Black Maternal Health Week, the South Black Maternal Health Collective asked me to come down and host their Black Maternal Health Gala. Beautiful Black birth workers, just excellent. So I hosted that and did some poetry. Very, very excited to be doing poetry again on the mic. And unbeknownst to me, they gave me an award. And I was like, wow. And the award was called The Voice of Black Mothers. And it just means a lot to me to be seen in this state. It means a lot to me to be seen in this state. It means a lot to be seen by your own people, not just Black people, but people who you are in
your peers,
your peers
That's
that you are in
real.
close physical proximity to. So shout out to Rose Sims of the South Black Maternal Health Collective, and just shout out to the whole collective. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful event. They're going to have it every year, and this was the first one, so I was so excited. So I just wanted to put that out there as a praise report. Because
congratulations, well
That's amazing.
deserved.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
It felt really, really good to be celebrated. So that is my praise report. No more church announcements.
No, I think I'm good.
Praise report. Prayer list request. As always, please keep Black birthing people on your prayer list. And during this episode, while you're watching, if you hear something that resonates with you and you're watching on YouTube, throw it in the comments, put quotations around it so we know what resonates with you. Or find us on Instagram, throw it in the comments so we know what resonates with you. And don't just be looking at us on YouTube. Like
and subscribe.
And tell at least one person about this episode. We're really excited and really grateful for our growing YouTube subscribers. I'm really, really grateful because you didn't have to push subscribe, but you did. So
but you
We love
appreciate
y'all.
y'all. Appreciate y'all. Okay, so let's roll into this mac and cheese. Okay, everybody. So we are in our mac and cheese segment. We're really excited to have this conversation about sinners and Black motherhood. And we have some guests joining us today.
Yay!
I told everybody before we started recording that I've been listening to Making Oprah. So I may be a little Oprah-ish today. My 11-year-old, we listened to Making Obama, and they promoted Making Oprah. And he was like, can we listen to Making Oprah? So we're listening to Making Oprah on the way to school. Anyway, we're talking about Sinners and Black Motherhood, and we have some listeners joining us today. We're very, very excited that our listeners are behind the scenes with us, actually watching this recording, and they will be chiming in later. Yay! One of our listeners, Cliff,
so glad
said,
y'all are here.
Yeah. We're really excited you all are here. I think we've done this one other time. It was like for our 50th anniversary show. So this is really exciting. And I wanted to do this because, there are a lot of takes on Sinners, but I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Black motherhood. And Ryan Coogler is a very intentional filmmaker. And the leading lady, in my opinion, in the film is a Black mother. And so I wanted to make sure that we do talk shit on here, but we do have an intention behind the podcast is that we're archiving the experiences of Black mothers in real time. And so I wanted to make sure that we, bookmark this moment because it seems like, Thea was saying it earlier, it seems like such a phenomenon, this film. And so just to provide a little bit of context, I'm going to give a film description, and then I'm going to talk about what Ryan Coogler says his intention was in making the film, just so that we can have some context around the discussion. So Sinners is a 2025 American horror film directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, who I must say, he really did his thing. Let me know in the chat if y'all agree. Set in 1932 Mississippi. I'm going to say I was a little bit nervous about people not from the South telling Southern stories.
And the accents. We were nervous about the accents.
I've been a little bit more forgiving of the accents because I know people don't understand Southern accents. So I can kind of work my way through. But I didn't have to struggle my way through for this film. So that was good. It follows twin brothers who return to their hometown after World War I and become entangled in a supernatural conflict while also confronting the realities of Jim Crow racism. The film explores themes of community, heritage, and the struggle for survival in a harsh and oppressive environment. So that's the description of the film. And I want us to honor Ryan Coogler's intention. On the podcast Ball is Life, Ryan Coogler said, I'm trying to communicate more than anything a feeling. There's a certain respect you have to give your audience. People have so many places they can go for opinions. I'm definitely picking from some ideas I want to explore. But more than anything, I'm trying to communicate a feeling through film language and give folks a visceral experience. And I'll have the link. I'll have the link to that podcast, that clip in our show notes. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because when we have this discussion, I want us to try to stay in our feelings and try to stay in the experience of it. So much, there's a lot of discourse on many things about what we think. And we often stay up here and not sort of in our hearts and in our bodies. So as much as we can, I want us to stay in the experience and the feeling of the film, because I also think that honors his, intention.
Yeah, that's
as
really
well.
good.
Clem really said, good. Agreed, bravo to Michael B. Jordan. Stephanie said, Dev stepped it up, playing twin is hard. And Clem said she forgot he was playing two people.
I didn't think, I saw them as two different people.
I definitely saw them
that he was the one playing the two people.
That wasn't a constant thing in my mind. I will say that wasn't a constant thing in my mind, which can happen when someone's playing twins. So that was great. What I would like for us to delve into first is, what was your experience of Annie in the film, this Black mother? What was your experience of her in the film? Like, did you see yourself reflected? Did you not see yourself reflected? But what was your experience of this Black mother in this film?
So I'll start. So I had seen a few trailers And I knew that Annie was going to be a love interest. And it was such a breath of fresh air. Such a breath of fresh air to see us represented in this way.
Did you know she was going to be a mom, or did you just know she was going to be a love interest?
No, I did not know she was going to be a mom. But there was a alongside the sultriness of her, there was a wisdom and a nurturing.
The sultriness.
I
like the sultriness. That really struck me.
But there was a nurturing, holding of wisdom and just knowing in her that I attributed immediately to. I could tell off top that she was a root worker, that she was in hoodoo, a hoodoo practitioner. And so I attributed to that initially, just her being a keeper and a holder of information, of truth, of wisdom. And that translated very easily into a mother as soon as you could, almost immediately. All the things were revealed within a minute or less, right? You could see him. You could tell there was a loss. You could tell it was a baby. You know what I mean? And so it didn't take long for all of it to come together, but it all made sense and was woven together, I thought, so seamlessly and beautifully in the embodiment of who Annie was. That was my first experience of her. Now, it's been 8 days since I saw the movie, and I want to see it 2 or 3 more times. There hasn't been a day that's gone by that I haven't thought about.
Oh, same,
Annie.
Keish. Same. I can't stop thinking about her.
I cannot stop thinking. I cannot stop consuming content. It's got me in a chokehold. But Annie and that storyline in particular, let me pause. Thea, go ahead. What you got? Whoever's next. I'll be back
I'm gonna copy and paste Nikisha's answer. The first thing honestly that hit me about Annie was her priesthood. Like that was the thing that reflected back for us. In terms of like what reflected back to me right away, it was that and the way she held power. The way Annie holds power all throughout the film, for me, is a masterclass in all the hoods. Motherhood, womanhood, and priesthood. There was such a deep centeredness. There was such a rooting that nothing that happened moved her from that center.
Yeah.
Nothing that happened moved her from that center.
Yeah.
She, no matter what conversation she was having, who she was having it with, and what the situation was, she was very clear what her piece of that was.
Yeah.
And only that.
Yeah.
And only that.
Yeah.
She was a mother without being a mammy, which they could have easily mammied her. They could have easily mammied her, especially with the white girl in the picture. They could have easily mammied her, and they didn't. Every time she was on screen, all I saw was power, but I saw it in this like deep, divine, chocolate power. When I think about how I want to move in my power, it's Annie.
Yeah.
This constant knowing of what I need to know. It's not an all-knowing, because she clearly says, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
have
know.
all the answers.
I don't know. But in knowing what I need to know, that's all I need to know. And that's enough for her to be what she is and to be, therefore, useful, helpful, and significant when that time comes. She's always there because she's where she belongs, where she's supposed to be, and not everywhere else. She's boundaried. She's boundaried.
As Clem says.
Stephanie says she's boundaried.
Yeah.
And there's power. So for me, what that looked like, when we see Black women who are in their soul treaters, we see that a lot of out. But what she was like was the power of like, what is it like if something is like just harnessed in it of itself, and it only disperses when she determines that it's needed. When the line for me that let me know who the fuck Annie was.
Well,
Can I say? Oh, go ahead. Wait, pause.
I think we have the same line. I'm going to say it. Let me know if I'm right.
Oh.
Your body remembers me.
No, okay. That was, that would be your line. That is that. That was second line.
Or your body ain't
That's a good ass
forgotten.
line.
Your body ain't
Your
forgotten.
body ain't
forgotten.
But also she said it in another tongue.
Sure did.
I want her to say that. But
And he
was
understood.
when he
Heard he
said,
understood.
when he went on his rampage about I done been all around the world and and power and money are the only things that she said, how you know? How you know?
It wasn't me. It wasn't
that
my
I
Mojo
didn't
Bag.
work every route, how do you know? You so silly. You think it was your understanding of this world that got you through it? Where's your Mojo Bag?
You still got
Give
it
me
on?
the bag. You still got it on.
You still got
For
it
all
on.
your belief, you still
got it
wearing
on. Mm-hmm.
And she didn't be like, some of us would have been like, some of us being people on this podcast would have been like, nigga, it's my Mojo Bag that did that. Like Annie could have been.
No,
I would've-
actually,
I
I'm
would've
not
said
going to
that.
raise my
I would've
hand
said
on
that.
that. I would not have said that.
But Annie was like, that's cute. Actually, how you know? And it was just, I was like, all right, bitch, we going.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
with
going to
you.
raise my hand on that. For me, Annie was the most connected character in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And
for sure.
Easily.
Annie was in
Yes,
control,
very easily.
but not trying to control.
But not controlling.
But not controlling. She was such a reflection to me of surrendering. Like, she surrendered to a destiny. Like, she knew she was going to die. And I think part of that surrender was she knew she had someone waiting for her on the other side. But the other part of that surrender to me is she gave me a lot of hope in, like, you can divest. Like, Annie was divested in so many ways. Annie didn't run to Chicago. Annie still lived in the rural South. Annie wasn't in a rush. She was so grounded and so connected. She still lived in the rural South. She wouldn't take money as we knew it. She still took, like, the plantation money, the wooden nickels, and all of that stuff. She was just divested. And when I say she didn't rush, if you look at Mary, as soon as she saw Stack, as soon as she saw Stack, it was
it was a master class in what not to do and what to do.
It was so rushed.
And made a scene.
It was so rushed. And Annie, it wasn't rushed. Her encounter with Smoke was not rushed. She even prayed during the encounter. Can you imagine you done had a baby with this man? Y'all done lost this child. He goes to Chicago. You send some protection with him. And the first time you see him back, your pace, he has to fall into your pace. Your pace is so deliberate that you even have the connectedness and groundedness is like, I'm going to pray right here. Because
some of us would have been turned around
immediately. Immediately.
Some of us would have been.
Quiet as it's kept, I forgot the prayer. I jumped straight to the worship. The worship.
Prayed.
I did. I forgot the prayer.
She prayed.
Right.
It was like, just in case nobody understands who I am, including the person in the room with me, and let me get myself grounded.
You forgot because it's been 7 years.
Because it's been 7 years. And let me get myself grounded so that he remembers who I am before I go into this physical, because after that, she goes and she holds him, so even just like,
she's like, but even that's like, you can have some now.
Yeah. It's just her pace. And throughout the whole film, like when Cornbread comes to the door, everybody's talking, and she's looking. She's like, she's not jumping into the conversation, rushing into the conversation. Her pace the entire time is slow.
My God.
And just thinking about it, what it made me think is our episode with Akilah. And I remember on that episode with Akilah, Grief and Black Motherhood, Akilah said, grief is a partner in our life. We have to learn to be partners with grief. And I was like, okay, and here I know that, but what does that look like? Have I ever really seen anybody doing that? I've only seen these fire encounters with grief, these really intense encounters with grief. I've never seen anybody really partner with it. And that's
and
what
walk in the reality that it coexists with everything else we're encountering.
And that's what I saw with Annie. And I feel like that is some of that pacing. I mean, it may have been there before. I don't know, but I really believe that grief and that motherhood, because she still very much sees herself as a mother. She wants to see her child on the other side. She has made peace with death, which I don't think anybody else in the film had. And her pace, I just
but her grief was not just the baby, Crystal, too. She was away from this man she loved for 7 years.
Yeah,
that is another form of like loss and grief that she had to live with longing, with missing. That's another form of like grief and loss that she carried for 7 years and still loved and protected and prayed for and nurtured as though it were still there. And that is a depth that is tremendous.
I don't think that was her only part of grief, but I think that's an emotional part. I think there was something to the fact that she experienced grief in that physical way. Like, like this person came out of me and I witnessed, their death. That's kind of like, that's not how we learn the order of things. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm not discounting that.
Yeah.
But I'm adding on to that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, to the person you had that connection with to make that life is gone for 7 years. And so the person who would best kind of at the closest to understanding that grief is not there either. And so that's even more that she had to walk with. And I would even say it could be because of some of these things, because we see Annie after she's
right. I don't think it was
kind of
in. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
it was
and
immediate.
so that's also very interesting to think about, that we see in Annie the after effects of allowing what we talked about with Tequila to happen. Allowing yourself to go through the process of grieving and partnering with it can lead you to this place of like centered. The other thing about her is all that power, and Annie, more than anybody else, caused no harm.
And I think there's something to the fact that she not only like sat in it emotionally and mentally, but physically. Like she didn't leave the South. She didn't leave
where the pain started. She could have gone. Yeah, you're right.
I think there's something to be said to. I think there's something to be said to that. In not leaving, she remained a healer in her community. I'm sure a fixture that was needed. Those little babies were there getting, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Right, continue to mother
and heal and be present for her community. That's some shit only we do, quite frankly. You know what I mean? To be so rooted and so affirmed in who we are and the gifting and the work that needs to be done, that even in loss, even in grief, even in longing, I love that you named it that, Thea. We keep moving forward because the work has to be done. The work is necessary for the community to be okay. I don't know if that's not something we all want to carry.
I wonder if the Annies of the world know they're the Annies of the world. I wonder if Annie knew she was an Annie. When you're in that, you're so present with the smallest waves of life that are happening that you may not even be aware of how you're being witnessed or observed at all. You may just be, people can't always see the what's rippling in you. You are managing that, not in a bad way, not in a way that's like suffocating or stifling, but you have learned to ride it so well that people can't tell when you're moving or not moving. It's very, they say like really high vibration looks like stillness. Like it's moving so fast. It looks like it's not moving at all. You know what I mean? And I'm going to go back to it because I think when we see power, we see it often so white and so masculine that we similar to how like Smoke just depicted it. It feels so violent and so forceful. And it was refreshing for me to see Power that knew its power so well. It didn't choose harm even when it could. Also, though, Annie's power was very clearly sourced from something greater than her, and she was never not aware of that, because we saw her consult with this power before she acted. Like we saw her use it to find out what to do. And so maybe it was also Annie not seeing herself as the source of that power, but knowing that she was sourced by that power, which is different.
You know what I liked about that? I like that, you know, when people talk about the character of Annie, she was a root worker, and in the movie it's called magic, but they didn't make her magical. Do you know what I'm saying? She was human.
It was very accurate. Yeah,
she had
real and accessible.
Yeah, she had experienced pain. I love that. Again, her level of like sometimes I think we think, oh, if I divest, am I going to be able to find a man? Will somebody love me? Am I going to still be able to help my community? And I think she's an example of you can divest and still have all of those things. But I love that she wasn't like a magical Negro. She was very human.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
I love that.
True. Good
to the
point.
To the point where he was like, you know, why couldn't it save our baby? And she says, I don't know. And I think that's really something, because I think when people come to Afro spirituality, they're not often, I'm not going to say that. I think some people come to these practices for control, for power, to try to control the outcome.
Manipulate something.
Manipulate it. And so, but to see a priestess say, I don't know, and still see her continue to practice, I think was just so beautiful. And I think it just really showed her humanity. I want to read some of our
There are some great ones. There are some great ones.
So excited we have a chat. Now I'm thinking about how she led them in spirit during that time versus Sammy's daddy's spiritual leadership. That's good.
There was a lot of dichotomies in this movie. A lot of dichotomies.
Yeah. That's good. Clem says, really 2 legs, 2 arms, and a brain that works.
That's what she said. And you did. That's what he said. That's what she said to him. And you thinking you did that.
Cliff says, I didn't think about the pace. That is true. Yep, that pace didn't think about it. And throughout the film, there was a centering of our pleasure. Yeah. Well, that's what makes it about the blues, because the blues is about pleasure and struggle and strife. And there's a lot of sex in blues.
Oh my God.
In blues. But we do that. The pace.
God. There was a lot of sex in the juke joint.
The pace, when we see the BS coming.
One time for Sammy finding the button.
One time for Sammy.
Jesus, Sammy. Sammy, she said, let me wash up. Sammy said, I don't need you to wash nothing.
It was present even in the tiny details. She threw the bone several times as she accepted her fate. We got to protect ourselves. We do that to preserve. And Clem says,
I love that.
And Thea, you saw this in 70 millimeter too. I saw it in 70 millimeter, and there was a haze present of protecting during different parts of their scenes in the house. Did you notice that?
Yeah, and I would see sometimes, like, I don't know if you saw Clem, like, I mean, you all might have seen this too, but it was almost like things were always like floating. Like it was like, it's almost like you could see things like floating around them or around her. And especially during that house scene. I think that's when I saw that stuff the most.
And I feel like that house scene, I mean,
that's definitely one of the most, I mean, I don't think people talk about it. That was probably one of the most amazing scenes in the entire movie.
It was.
The whole
everybody
house
talks
scene.
about the music scene. Everybody talks about music through the ages and conjure.
What they talk about
but that
when
house
little white
scene
girl
was,
came for Stacks at that train station. Like they talk about that scene. But this scene,
the only thing about that scene is how she discounted Sammy and called him boy. That set the tone for me for who she was. You can't tell me different.
That scene felt like it lasted long.
It did.
But it wasn't like
long.
Time changed during that scene.
I do want to say, just, and you know, you will rarely I don't think I've ever defended a white woman on this podcast. I don't know. You listeners, tell me. I don't think I have.
Look at me and Nikisha. Me and Nikisha looking like, wait.
I'm not
You about to start now?
Nikisha, why you put the mic so close? Why you put the mic so close, Nikisha?
This was not a part of pre-production conversation.
It was not. But I just do want to say, what was the line where she said, well...
She did say it.
What did she say? What did she say?
She said, you put your tongue in my coon.
You put your tongue in my coon.
And then you fucked me so hard, I thought you changed your mind.
I would say that can leave you a bit confused and acting on...
acting light-skinned?
Acting light-skinned and high emotion if you're not grounded in and rooted in the spirit. If you're rooted in the dick, it can...
If you are rooted in the dick.
I mean, some of us, I'm just asking people, some of us have been rooted in the dick. And you...
Some of us have been rooted in the dick.
Looking back on those times...
And
thank the Lord.
This is a confessional.
Thank God
this is a confessional.
Was no recording. Thank
there
God
was
there
no
was
recording.
no recording.
You know, bless
in my best outfit.
Bless the in my best outfit.
In my best showed up where I know you would be.
It's on
in
YouTube.
My best outfit.
It's on YouTube. The poem is called Courage, and it's about having the courage.
Showed up where I know you will be.
Having the
in
courage.
My best outfit.
To
and being
let
dignitized.
Somebody go. So I just want to say on Mary's behalf, if Michael B. Jordan,
ass
you know,
stack with them gold teeth.
You know what I'm saying?
Put your tongue in my coon.
You have to
and
be
then rub
rooted.
your heart. I said maybe
right. You got to be rooted to navigate that kind of dick. And I feel like Annie was rooted, so she knew.
Audience, back me up here.
What
Audience.
Annie knew, what
Audience.
Annie knew,
Help
what
me
Annie
out.
knew is you
Listeners.
got to control it. You got to tame that kind of dick. You can't let that dick. You got to turn that thing around. Annie had to make the dick come.
Annie was rooted, and I love that.
Okay,
dichotomy.
Annie was rooted. Mary got rooted. You see the difference?
You know what?
Annie was rooted, but Mary got rooted. And you got to know the difference, people. Because it's the difference between life and death. It's the difference between becoming a vampire or being set free.
I'm not defending her behavior.
I'm
just saying, I'm not defending her behavior. I'm just saying,
We've had some sisters that behaved that way after they got rooted.
I can see how a bitch got confused. Look at old girl who was married, and after Sammy found the button, did you see the song she sang, Nikisha?
And she was writhing all over the floor. She was just writhing.
She was a changed woman.
We didn't see Annie like that.
Hey,
Annie got
that button changed Sammy's life too. That button changed Sammy's. Sammy named that club Perlene.
It did.
Sammy said,
Perlene.
Sammy said, I ain't that nice and I ain't that young. This is what I think. Is it more annoying because she's a white woman? Absolutely. Is it more dangerous because she's a white woman? Absolutely. But what Crystal's saying is let who is among us cast the first stone. Take the stick out of your eye. Take the star out of your eye. I can't cast that particular stone because the way she said it, the way she said it let me know. I was like about to check her. I was like, bitch. And I was like, now when Mary sashayed her ass into the juke joint,
it's too far.
Not too far.
Too far.
And Mary, you in this mama situation, we understand it, but you can't use that to just be coming up in the juke joint bringing vampires.
All I can say
this was about the dick. This was not about mom. This was about the dick, and you got to own that. She said, wait, she said, I didn't want to be white. I wanted to be with you.
I'm telling you, if you're not rooted, you can get off track.
She was willing to give up all that privilege. All that privilege.
I should be wide. I just want to be with you.
If you're not rooted. I'm just saying. So Thea and I had a conversation about the Mojo Bag, right? Okay. And Nikisha, I want to know your thoughts on this. I want to frame this around protection in Black women, right? So what are your thoughts on the fact that Smoke had a Mojo Bag, but Annie didn't have her own Mojo Bag?
Oh, okay. I would say that there are many, many ways, many versions of protection. And I think that she walked in cloaked in protection in many ways until she no longer felt the need. Somebody talked about her throwing the bones and kind of being ready for the inevitable, kind of knowing what was to come. I don't know if she knew in her mind, but I definitely think on some kind of spiritual, deeper level, she understood.
Yeah.
And folks who do hoodoo have a real close relationship with death and the other side and the continuation.
That's why I wanted to ask you. I know you're exploring that right now.
There's no fear of it. It's just another stop on the journey. And so she wasn't afraid. She was like, I'm getting back to my baby, and I'm going to get back to my baby when it's time, and I'll be ready for that time. And she wasn't necessarily walking into war zones and living this life that the twins were, right? So I recognize her sending him off because he wasn't a walking altar. He wasn't already protected and deeply rooted. So he needed a little extra, right? I think in that same way, I would probably make Mojo Bags for my family, but for me, I would be in a different space, just kind of constantly cloaked in, connected to, in relationship and communication constantly with the other side, with my ancestors, and wouldn't feel the need to necessarily wear that unless it was for a particular purpose. But if my children were going out, I'd be like, hey, go ahead and put this on right quick. In that same way, I think. Yeah. It makes sense. But I get the question, though. And it made me pause when I heard it first. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because I know that you're kind of exploring hoodoo right now. And I just didn't know if there was something to her not having one and him not having one. I know when I thought about it, I was like, well, maybe she didn't need it, because I know in Ifa, like what I may be called to wear or what I may be called to do for protection may be different.
May look different than
from what someone else is called to do. I thought it was really interesting, though, because again, just going back to Afro spirituality, how we kind of do things because we've seen them done, but we don't have sort of any context. So when I see it on screen as one person is doing it, but another person isn't doing it, the practitioner is not doing it, but the non-practitioner is, I thought that was, again, a great representation of hoodoo and Afro spirituality, because I think it provided an opportunity for, like, this is a very distinct practice, like everybody's walk with it and what everybody does in it is, not the same, which is very different. It's a very specific practice. Let me say that.
Very specific. To you as the individual.
To you as the individual lineage. And your lineage, which is very different from Christianity. When Thea brought this to my attention, it did make me think about, like, Black women knowing how to protect everybody else. And it really made me think about just that idea of her protection.
In our chat, Clem says, you are the source, those are the tools. And that's very much in alignment with how hoodoo kind of thinks about it. And so she would have been the source. She would have been wholly protected, wholly covered. She's doing the works all day, every day. Yeah. She knows what she needs to do.
Got you.
She sends out those tools with the folks who need them. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
I think that specifically with Annie, that's a truth we can hold because it's Annie. Because it also takes a long time to get to you are the source, these are the tools in your body in an embodied way, like you were talking about. That takes a long time. And I know as an early priest, you do need those. You need the protections. You need the tools because you're learning. It really speaks to how long she's been practicing, the depth of her practice, and the fact that she's probably been generationally taught that she can walk around without one at that point. I just say that so that folks don't think that they could, like, jump in brand new and then be like, I'm like Annie, no, that takes more time than more than you have in a lifetime. Like, that's why I said generationally.
That's real.
This is probably something that she was able to do after generations and generations. I went with someone else and they said, they mentioned the same thing. And I think that is because, we get tired of seeing Black women die. Protecting or help, being the source of helping other people. And so it was our grief for Annie that also was like, well, why couldn't she be protected? You know what I'm saying? And that's also a very tender thing to hold as well. That we source all these things and we're the holder of these things, but often we're often left without protection.
Yeah, and Annie had
Brought
to
up
do
the
some
tenderness
hard.
of it.
Annie had to do some hard things. Annie had to accept a very difficult thing that happened in her life. The loss of a baby. So Annie, for me, was just the full range of humanity.
Yeah, she
for
was
me.
very. There
I
was still
saw
such
so much humanity in her.
Even the part like she used the tool, so she knew. Let's just say she knew what could come and what was going to happen. She didn't even need the tools to know that she could get bit and this was going to happen. Right, she's fighting fucking vampires. You need to care about that. But even in that, she didn't know it would be stacks.
Yeah,
and in that last moment,
when
she was
said,
like,
"Not you."
Yeah. Even in that moment was the sadness and the vulnerability, like, okay, I have made my peace with the fact that this could happen, but I didn't know. And I swear, y'all, this Afro spiritual walk is like that.
Yeah,
and that's, I can know this much, but I will not. But that, you there's a lot of that.
Me too, Clem. There's so many parts. Clem says she missed that part. I'm saying, man, we need to see it again and again. There's so many just nuances to catch each time.
If you go back and see it again, and I hope people see it several times so that they can catch those nuances, particularly about Afro spirituality, because again, I think some people come to the practice and they think it's rainbows and sunshine over here. And it's like any other spiritual practice. There's going to be a hard time. You're going to be asked. Yeah, you're going to be asked to do some hard things. And I'm not talking about those things that some preachers say and all of that. I'm talking about
close the doors, lock the door. What are you talking about?
No, we didn't do it. Yes, we did it.
I'm sorry. My bad. Focus.
See, I'll put the link for that. If y'all don't understand, I'll put the link for that in the show notes. I don't want to.
Oh, I wasn't ready, Nikisha.
I don't want to. I don't want to speak
it. That preachers ask us to do.
I don't want to. I don't want to speak it. I don't want to speak it. But I'm talking about the things that people say that you have to do. I'm talking about just the walk in life. You're going to confront or be asked to handle things in a way that challenges who you are, right? And so I really hope that people really take that away from this film when they're seeing Annie's character. It's a spiritual practice, and it's like any other spiritual practice. You're going to have to really go deep in your faith when you're asked to do, those hard things. And
things.
Clem said something that
I want to speak. Can I speak to something that Stephanie said too? It felt like she embodied the essence rather than being ritualistic. But I want to hold that gently. She did use rituals.
She did.
We saw her do multiple rituals throughout it. With Afro spirituality, there's not an either or. You're always toggling this duality. You're always toggling the both and. It wasn't an arrogance or a feeling like I don't need protection. I don't think that's why she didn't have the Mojo Bag on. I think she understood the power of rituals and how and when to use them and when not to. When to just allow things to unfold as opposed to try to prevent them from happening. Right. And I think that is also about really being a skilled embodied practitioner is when to use them and when not to.
And I'm not even going to assume that she wasn't struggling with not having a Mojo Bag because maybe she asked, maybe she asked, and they were like, no, you don't need a Mojo Bag. That's for him. Don't make yourself one.
And that also could get in the way of something that's supposed to unfold for you.
And that can very much happen in Afro spirituality is very specific to the person. So you may wonder, well, why did this person, get to do this and they got this and they got that, but I didn't get this because it's specific to you.
I want you to be like Maxwell. Don't ever wonder.
Ooh.
Don't ever wonder.
That's not your portion. That's not your portion.
That's not your portion.
Don't ever.
I want to talk about something that Clem says here. She chose to be an ancestor. Now, this really struck me because I'm going to be like 1,000% honest. I was upset that Stax and Mary lived because I was like, this who get to live? But then when I sat there and I was still sitting in the movie theater, I sat there. I was like, no, but Annie wanted to see her child. And I thought about this idea of like the chase to be younger, the chase not to grow older, the desire to live forever to the point where you're willing to take other people out or to suck the blood out of other people that you can live a longer life. And I thought about what Annie's...
That's a very white fantasy.
It's very white. It's very
such a white fantasy.
It's very greedy and it's very capitalistic because things aren't supposed to last forever. If we're a reflection of nature,
that's why you can appreciate them more.
And when Annie says to live forever and never be able to see the sunshine. Do you know what I'm saying? We talk...
They're cursed. She's like, that's
it's a curse. We talk a lot about the ancestors and we give them veneration, even in Afro spirituality, but even in the Christian practice, the idea is that the kingdom of heaven is the ultimate place to be, and yet we're constantly on this hunt to how do I live longer? How do I stay longer? Do you know what I'm saying?
Because there was some culture vulture. That's also what they were sucking and seeking from others as well.
Yeah, because vampires don't age either. I thought that was very much reflective of not capitalism, but not a greed in terms of material things, but just a greed in terms of like how much we want from the earth and the world. Like your turn is over. You know, at the end, he says Preacher Boy says, I've had my time.
But that makes it so you can live. The thing about that is, like the truth about that, anybody seeking to live forever, they're living dead. They're not living. They're dead. And they're hoping that more time will change that. And that's not what changes that. What changes that is to know we only have a certain amount of time. And we don't even know how much that is. The fact that we know it's temporary dictates how we live it, dictates how we engage it, how we embrace it, which is why, like, for me, that grief stuff makes, if you let it, it will make you more alive.
It will.
It will actually make everything you're doing deeper and richer, and you can't get out of all the feeling of you will know that this love, this longing exists with this grief and exists with these things all exist together. But you can actually still feel the love in the grief. You can actually still feel the love in the longing. But only if you allow that. They're not willing to be uncomfortable about anything. Their comfort is the most important thing to them in the world.
I sat there and like when that realization came to me, like, oh no, like don't you want to be an ancestor? You know, like that's when at the end of the film, I just like lost it. I was just
she also had that in line
bawling.
You can come hold her,
but you can't have
that smoke all on. Like, what a fucking line.
You gotta leave this life.
You gotta leave. What Elijah? She kept calling him Elijah, not your government man. So the two things I was talking about, like the duality, but also deals.
Deals? You said you saw
because Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, I want to put that.
I'll find the clip so that you. Yeah, I was about to say I'll find the clip to send it to you. He talked about like one of his like fixations about the film was what kind of deals do oppressed people have to make to survive. And the whole movie, there's deals all over. There's constant deals. The dad is trying to negotiate with Preacher Boy. There's when he goes and he tells a little girl, numbers talk, this is a dance. Then he starts dancing with Grace and they do it. And there's just constant.
Delta
and the
Slim
only person
to get him to come that night.
Delta Slim, there's a deal. There was a deal down to the last
when he pause. We just have to pause
we haven't
on
even talked about Delroy motherfucking Lindo. What the fuck are we thinking?
That's a whole other episode. I just want to pause for him because we're keeping the focus on Annie and Black Brotherhood, but I just want to pause for Delroy.
In that car scene after passing by that chain gang.
That's
And
a
he's
whole.
the pain
was
gets
cut.
so much. He just started.
That scene was cut, and he went to Ryan and said, "You have to put this back in, and here is why."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan was like,
I need a
you're
link
right.
for that.
You're
I need
right.
a link for
And the
that
music was
conversation,
improv.
Thea.
I got you.
And the music was improv.
I didn't know that.
Sure was.
Mm-hmm. The music was
That
improv.
was that thigh tapping that soulful old men do. That thigh tap.
I just wanted
that
to give a little
Delroy
pause.
motherfucking Lindo.
I first knew Delroy as a theater actor. He
Ooh,
was
even before
in
Malcolm X.
he was in one of the best August Wilson plays there is.
August Wilson.
It's called Joe Turner's Coming On.
Joe Turner.
I would be surprised if they ever make a Joe Turner's Coming On movie, because that is on the writing. This Sinners put me in the mind. I was like, is he the August Wilson of our lifetime? But then I was like, no, he's Ryan Coogler. You know, I had to like kind of let that go. But August Wilson is an African-American playwright that wrote 10 plays about each decade of the 90s of Black people. Denzel Washington has the rights to all 10 of his plays, and the latest one the latest one that he did was The Piano Lesson. And there's a scene in The Piano Lessons that I think is on par with Sinners, when the lead woman in that role plays the piano and she calls upon the ancestors.
Annie was the only one who didn't take a deal. The reason I say, I know she told Smoke what she wanted him to do, what she needed him to do. She made him promise. Everybody else was making deals. Like the white guy before, at the end, he was offering money for Smoke not to kill him. Like that was even the last deal down to the end. You got to do this to get this. You got to do this to get this. There was nothing in that for the deal with Annie.
Even the deal with Sammy at the end, you can live forever if you. No, I'm good.
It's constant deals.
I'm good.
It was great writing to have Remick reveal that the Klan was going to come kill y'all in the morning. Even the deal you thought you made, they was never going to honor that deal. Like Remick did have a point or two.
He did. He was a very complicated villain.
He was a good
Ryan's
villain.
known for doing.
He was a good villain.
He was like, I don't care about this race stuff. What I love is the way that you all are connected, the way you conjure up your ancestors, where all that history and wisdom can be drawn to me. That's why I want Sammy. That's what I'm here for that. I'm not here for this racist stuff.
How you feel about
But he still had them out there dancing around the Irish jig.
How you feel about Mary? How you feel about Mary?
Is how you feel about
Remick? How I feel about Remick. Remick is Bernie Sanders, using Black people to build his movement. I said it. Taking from Black people to build his movement. Bernie Sanders' platform.
Because he could have gone and got some white Pampers. There was white people in town.
Bernie's platform, and I'm saying it.
It's true. It's true.
I am the daughter of a union worker who begged her union to vote for Jesse Jackson. So I know Jesse Jackson's platform. Bernie Sanders, his whole platform, he lifted from Jesse Jackson. Remick not to recognize race means you don't understand the whole entire
But Remick did recognize race.
He talked about understanding oppression. His own oppression.
I'm saying you said that's not recognized. I'm saying you said he was like, I don't care about this race stuff.
He was using that though.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't genuine. But
I think that is a reflection of Bernie. Bernie doesn't care about race. Okay. That's why he can't win South Carolina.
He really doesn't genuinely. Yeah, he genuinely
cannot win South Carolina.
He doesn't think it's actually the issue.
He doesn't think it's actually the issue. So to me, and I'm not saying that this was Ryan Coogler's intention, but to me, the whole movie is a metaphor, right? And you can take that any way you want to take it. And I thought that Remick, to me, is a metaphor for white progressive movements that only want to talk about class, but they don't take the time to build their own actual movements. Everything they do, they lift from Black people. You don't have to believe me. Go. I will put a link.
No, it's a fact. She's absolutely.
I will put a link in the show notes.
Remick being Irish.
I will put a link.
That's why they chose
I will put a link. And the British colonized the Irish. But you know who were harsh overseers?
Irish. But that's what made him the perfect villain.
Okay.
Because in terms of,
he was a perfect.
Irish rode that space that you're talking about. And this is what white liberals and white leftists do. This is exactly what you're talking about. They ride this little space.
He was a perfect villain, but for me, he wasn't complex.
Got it. You was like, been there, seen that. Got it.
Every time.
Fair.
Bernie Sanders cares about the working class. Bernie Sanders cares about white working class men. Run, Jesse, run.
I think Remick was pretty complicated. I felt like he was complex and layered. I think he talks a lot about understanding their oppression because of how the Irish were treated 1,000 years ago, a lifetime he had, many lifetimes before, and understanding what it's like to be oppressed, and then also understanding the value of being able to connect to generations through.
But Remick used that to manipulate.
You don't think that was real?
No, here's what I think. I think Remick could have went to white people. Irish people didn't turn to white people for help, but they became white by helping to oppress Black people. Remick knew that was a connection, but he was trying to exploit it for his own good. He knew I could take this thing and say that we're brothers and we've both been done wrong. We've all been done wrong. But then I'm going to flip it and I'm going to have all these niggas dancing around to an Irish jig, which is what happened. They weren't out there dancing to the blues. They were out there dancing to his music, circling around him and his culture.
I think they would have been dancing. Oh, okay.
They were literally
let me put it to you like, let me put it like.
So he didn't want Sammy for...
He wanted Sammy...
The ability to conjure and the connection to the others?
He wanted Sammy because Sammy could draw more people. Sammy's music could attract more people. Black music, the blues, the white girl wanted to get in the club.
This is true. That's true.
Clem, you are hilarious.
Sammy because Sammy could attract way more music than his little Irish song could. Let me put it to you like this. I just hold this. He killed 2 white people. No, 3. Mary. And how many Black people?
And Bo.
You could have gone and killed the Klan people.
And Bo. Sorry.
You were like, no, we can go over there and do it together. Side note, my thing with Grace, and it's not about her being Asian. My thing about Grace is, I totally understand your response and your need as a mother for what you had. Your man is outside. You didn't send him outside. Blah 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 blah. What I don't understand about Grace is, bitch, just grab you a steak and some garlic and head out the back door and go try to save your kid. But I don't know why you wanted everybody to feel how you feel and do what you wanted them to. You tried to control them. You took away their choice. That was my thing with Grace. And I know she was a mom, and people are like, she's responding as a mom.
I don't care about that.
A mom, a Black mom would have went out that back door. Last thing I'm saying about Grace, bitch, you only killed one person.
And was the first one's down.
All that, and you didn't even help kill everybody.
Here's
all that, and you come in, motherfuckers.
Here's my thing about
Grace. You kill one.
Here's my thing about Grace. Even if she would have gone out the back door, she wasn't going to survive. She wasn't going to get far out the back door by herself. I just want to say that. Number 2, my thing about Grace is Grace was the only person who had an external vulnerability. Nobody else, not even Sammy, because I think Sammy would have been like, you want to kill my daddy? I hate it for him, but
he had siblings. He had a mom. Like these people had people.
Perlene had a whole husband.
I don't think Perlene was really married. I think Perlene was just saying
really
that.
That's a bad example. That's a bad example. But I think
Mary had a husband
somebody said no, she didn't.
Mary was already a vampire.
But here's my thing: if we're gonna say Grace was so out of her mind because she was so scared about protecting her kid, you would still go out the back because you wouldn't be thinking straight. You would be trying to get to your child. That's the whole point of not thinking straight. But bitch, you were thinking straight enough to bring these vampires in here to fight my ass. And then bitch, if I would have turned around and saw Grace on fire, I would have put that bitch out just so she can come back and kill some more people. That ain't right.
I don't agree with Grace's decision, but I understand Grace's decision.
The thing is, Grace can lead. Grace had a right to go protect her child. And I think Grace should have gone protect her child. And I understand that the movie needed this to pop off and they used Grace to make it pop off. I understand. Understand cinematically. I understand. My point is, if you all are ever in a situation with me, okay, and we got a plan, because niggas go rogue. We got a plan, okay? It's a solid plan, okay? And you decide you want to go rogue, Go out the back door, bitch. Just take the back
By
door. You ain't even got to
yourself.
consult me.
Don't
Just
take
go out,
all of
go
us
out
out.
the back door.
She wouldn't have
But
saved her daughter.
I swear, for God,
She
I
wouldn't
would
have
have
saved her
stopped
daughter.
everything to look over at Grace's burning ass and be like,
Should have
this
saved her
bitch.
daughter. But okay, I want to bring this back to something that
Bring it back.
and then we're
Bring us
gonna.
back.
So listeners, get ready because we're gonna take your comments and questions. But I want to bring this back. You said Andy was the only person
Yeah.
who didn't make a deal, and when I think about that, Annie was also the person. Annie didn't feel entitled.
She didn't feel like she was missing any. Like, yeah.
She didn't have any entitlement. And I want to be clear. She felt she was worthy.
Yeah.
She took up space.
Yeah.
She took up space.
Yeah.
Took up space.
Yeah.
But when I think about
Mm.
the characters, a lot of the characters felt entitled. Even Smoke.
Mhm.
Even Smoke. A lot of the
Mhm.
characters.
Yeah, he felt old.
Yeah, they
Smoke felt
yeah,
old.
they felt.
Stax didn't feel that way. Do you think Stax felt that way?
Stax felt very entitled. I
Entitled?
think you have a blind spot for Stax because he's a little pimpish.
He's a little bit, bitch. You know that's what it is. You know that's what it is.
He's a bit of a pimp, but he was selling ass in a different
Yes,
county a
true.
couple of years ago or whatever.
I think
He
they did
was.
say that.
He
I tried
was.
to block it out.
So,
but
And
I'm
he
just
only
saying.
took real money.
I
He
think
only
you,
took real
you
money
have a
from
block
them.
because he was
Yep.
a bit of a
Yeah,
pimp. He
seriously.
definitely
That's
felt
what
entitled.
That's right. He
He
said you only
was.
took real
He
money when you
was.
was selling that ass. You weren't
Right.
taking no plantation nickel.
Right.
It was true.
Right.
It was true.
But she was she, and I think like that.
I did like Stax.
I think that, and I like Smoke.
Yeah, Smoke was cool.
I like Smoke.
Smoke. They both look like niggas that'll give you a hard time. I swear to God. in
I don't
different
think
ways,
Smoke
but-
would have given me a hard time.
blind spot,
I
blind
don't-
spot, blind spot.
I don't feel like he gave Annie a hard time. He was grieving.
That was after 7 years. He gave her a hard time.
Okay, but my point is, I think Annie is the one character that didn't feel entitled, and I think that came from the fact that she wasn't invested in the same systems that they
Yes,
were invested
100%.
in. Stacey said, "And protecting their kids be bringing out the worst of other people."
It do.
Mm.
I just want to ask.
Mhm.
All right, well, let
Them.
me ask you this: are Black people like? I don't know. This may get cut. I just want to ask this question: do Black mamas be like, they'll be all right? I taught them well.
Oh my God, do we? Do we? Do we?
Clem said every day. Every day.
Every day. Every day. She know what to do if a vampire show up. I told her she better do it.
You know
what
what?
I'm saying? We got it.
I have proof.
Just the sun up.
I have proof. I have proof that a Black mother would not have been as worried. You know why? What is the number one rule when your parents aren't at home and
Don't
you're
answer that door.
Don't answer the door.
Don't answer that
answer
door.
the door.
Don't let nobody in this house. That's
wasn't
why
gonna let-
Annie would have. But you know what? She
And
didn't. Grace
invite
didn't teach
them
her
in?
kids that.
Never.
And so we all
Never.
suffer because Grace didn't teach her kid that.
Never.
I
don't know them.
think Black mamas would have been like, they'll be all right. They know what to do. They know not to let nobody
They
in.
don't answer the door.
They know not to let
That's
nobody in. Damn, Stacey said don't answer the phone. Yeah, Stacey, we were not allowed to
None of
answer the
that.
phone.
You're not home.
We were not
You're
allowed to
home.
answer the phone.
You're not home.
Facts.
No one's here.
Stacey said, don't tell nobody you here by yourself.
Lie.
That's it. That's it.
That vampire wouldn't
Don't
have
tell
made it in the
nobody
door.
nothing. What'd you say,
Do
Mom?
it. That vampire would
my
not have made
mama
it through the
said
door.
Later, come back later and
My
close
mama
the door.
said you
That's
can't
it.
come in.
No. But the fact that once Remick overtook Bo and came back and said, I know how you like to be touched, Grace. I pulled that information from Bo's mind. That solidified for me. That he was wanting to get something from Annie, right? That he couldn't get from anybody else. He was going to get all of that ancestral wisdom, all of the hoodoo know-how, all of
he
that
would've
was
got
what he
that.
wanted. And that's why she was like, take me out. I cannot
Be used by him.
be used by
That's
him.
a good take. That's a good take, Nikisha.
I 100% agree. I think her name is Shayla Marie. She was actually saying that that's what she thinks, that they wanted Annie as well because
Yeah.
Annie had all of that knowledge.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah,
and they could have possibly used it to inoculate
Yeah.
themselves or figure out how
Yes.
to
Yeah.
use this so
Yeah.
that they couldn't
It's true.
be killed by I think
because everybody was mad when they took Annie
right.
out.
I think
out of all the
everybody.
people they done killed, they was really upset about.
I think
losing
about
Annie.
all the ways that Black people take basic things, right, and turn it into something to be like just turn it into amazing shit, right? And then we release it. We release it, right?
Yeah.
And then they sell us back our own shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I think
that
for
is specific. That is the history of hoodoo. That is in this country.
Yeah.
How all these magic shops and conjure shops that appeared in the early 1900s was stuff bought and stolen and repackaged from actual root workers.
The midwife was one of the most powerful, quote unquote, people on the plantation because she didn't just birth enslaved women's children. She birthed the mistress's children too, right? My mother was born at home, but then we follow white women into the hospital, right? And we lose all that tradition. And, white men make up laws to stop the tradition. And now we can't afford midwives when they used to just be in our community. Do you know what I'm saying?
You just said something that for them ties into what Nikisha said about them wanting that from Annie. But remember, when both Cornbread and Stack were possessed, like when they had been turned, whenever she was speaking truth, they would say, "Don't listen to that old witch." Remember, like they would say that. And they would say that, and that was their connection to Remick, right? Like, don't listen to that old witch. But Annie said, "Don't talk to him, talk to me."
Yep.
Talk to them. I love that moment. Talk to the most qualified person here. You're talking to me. Don't ask him. Don't ask me. I said, why can't you come in here without invite? And I love that moment with Annie. That was one of my other favorite Annie moments.
When Q Baby and I went to marriage counseling, I will never forget, the pastor said, "Let me tell you this." And he looked at my partner and he said, "She can see the devil coming before you can. And you better always understand that. And if you don't, you're making yourself vulnerable." I will never forget that. I was like, can I? He was like, "Yeah, you can." He's like,
always.
He said, and you know what? He said, it's so innate to you, you don't even recognize that you can do it.
That's what it is. That's right.
He said, my wife would be like, "I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't trust such and such."
Yeah. And it would turn out right every time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see
y'all
that.
ready?
Ooh, that's good though. Hey, y'all.
Ready?
I can't wait. Come on in here.
They've been talking. They've been chatting away over here.
Okay. We're inviting Stephanie into the space. Hey, Stephanie.
Hi.
Did you get a Black Mama Magic card deck one time?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. Y'all listen. I know Yeah, I know our tried and true listeners. I know people who've been rocking with us. Like the ones that have been rocking with us, I know them. Okay, so you wanted to talk about, I had a question about writer versus actor. Go ahead.
Yes. I wanted to hear y'all's perspective on, what do you think made these moments? What do you think made the movie? Was it the writing? Was it the acting? A little bit of both. What
was it
do
the
you
directing?
Think? The directing, you had Ruth Carter, you had costumes, you had the research. They did, like, the actors did research,
really well.
the producers did research. In your opinion, what made the movie?
That's a good one.
Ooh, Crystal, I'm going to start with you because you're the film person.
So I think really good filmmaking is not only a collaborative experience, but I think it's a communal experience. And I think that it's the director's job to set or lay the foundation of what that communal experience is going to be and really be clear about their intention. A film can turn out good with a bad actor, a bad director, bad producer, bad writing. And having seen the behind the scenes, I've seen terrible performances by actors be cut up into a performance that I'm like, man, that was freaking amazing. Like, that ain't what I saw when I was at the production. This film is a phenomenon, though.
Yeah.
And I think what makes this film a phenomenon is Ryan Coogler sits in his intention of the film. And Ryan Coogler is comfortable with the full range of humanity. I know grief was a very intentional thing in this film because he was grieving the loss of his uncle who introduced him to the blues. Right. And I'll put the link. I'll put the link for that interview in the show notes. So grief was intentional in here. I know grief was intentional in Wakanda Forever. But if you look at all of his films, there is an element of grief. And he is able to, I think, show that in such a way that shows the full humanity of Black people. So to me, what made this film was Ryan Coogler. Hey, it's not accidental that we often walk away from Ryan Coogler's film feeling a sense of community, feeling a sense of being seen. That's not just about collaboration. That's about creating a communal experience. To hear Angela Bassett talk about him as their leader on the set when Chadwick Boseman died, you know, she said he was our leader and I trusted him and I followed him. And so to me, and I know that's not like the sort of the filmmaking answer, but, you know, I think that's what allows Ryan Coogler to do things on another level. I think Spike Lee makes great films, but I don't know if I walk away from Spike Lee's work with the kind of emotion that I walk away with Ryan Coogler. And you know, when I saw the interview where he said, you know, when he started out, he would be like, well, what is my thesis? What point do I want to get across? And now his main concern is I want people to feel something. I think that's what makes the film, is he leads with the emotion, which allows us to see the full humanity, you know, of these characters. So maybe that is in the writing. Maybe that is in the direction. When it comes to direction, you have to have a fantastic cinematographer who can capture your vision. But that's all about trust and having relationships and relationship and having a communal experience.
I agree with it being Ryan Coogler as well, not to take away from the other pieces, but because he had to choose those pieces. He had to intentionally choose those pieces. That's why I'd have to go back to him. And I want to say that I thought Ryan Coogler was a great filmmaker. But Wakanda Forever and perhaps the death of Chadwick Boseman, it kind of initiated him into priesthood. And I could see the priesthood. I could see it because, for example,
I
we went to
just for information's sake, I want to be clear. He has never identified as that.
Not priesthood in terms of Afro spirituality, but like seeing yourself as the holder and stewardship of a thing that's bigger than the medium even that you're using. I remember going to see Wakanda Forever, and the big question he had to deal with was not how do I make another movie where my lead passed away, but really the question, if you think about it, that set us up for this movie was how do I help people grieve him? I remember being in theater and how did we all know when to be quiet? We all knew what to do, and it's how he directed and held the space that let us know we were in a ritual and we behaved like we were in a ritual, in a ceremony, in the theater. None of us knew each other. And that's when I was like, oh, he holds this like a priest, like priesthood. And I think that does allow him to, you know, like have these kind of effects. Like Krista was saying, you leave his films feeling like something shifted for me, something changed for me, something elevated for me, something opened for me. That's what you leave with. You know, and this is what you lose when you don't engage the original intention of his that Crystal gave us in the beginning. The assignment was not to think about the film, but I hate a think piece. I'm in an era right now for myself where I don't want to think and I don't want to hear what you think. I actually want to feel, and I want to see things, taste things, hear things that make me feel. And so for me, what he does is he amplifies the intelligence of aesthetics. He amplifies the intelligence of art. He shows it as just as viable, if not more powerful, a form of intelligence than thinking and over-intellectualizing. He's kind of calling us back to that. So I agree. And I think again, grief, though, the loss of Chadwick Boseman, even ushered him to learn how to bring that into the work,
3 for 3. I absolutely think that it was Ryan Coogler. Mostly because this is his brainchild. He touches every part of the film. He's so intimately involved in the micro decisions. He does not fail in casting. Like, this was so perfectly cast. Like, could you imagine another Annie? Could you imagine another person standing in that role the way that she did? It's hard to do so. And we never will be able to, right? Same way we can't imagine another Black Panther because of how perfectly Chadwick was chosen and curated in that space. It'll have to be done differently from now on, right? In the thank you letter that Ryan Coogler wrote to his fans, thanking all of us for, rallying and seeing this film and supporting it in the way that we have, he talked about he feels like it is his obligation to continue to mine his own experiences, his own life experiences for more art in this way. And that's what I think makes his film so unique, is that these are pulled from very personal experiences of his, things he's been able to see and know deeply, ancestrally, and also does the work. He researches the most minute. If I see, to your point, Thea, one more think piece on the tamale stand and the fact that there were no Mexican Americans in this area at this time, and why were the tamale stands?
When was the Mexicans gone by 1930 because of the Repatriation Act.
He thought through all of that. He thought through all of that.
You think you thought of it more than he did? In your 30-second clip?
There is nothing in this film that a viewer is going to be like, aha, gotcha. There is a
that
hole.
He didn't think about.
There's such intentionality, he's like, there were Black tamale makers at that time. Native Americans got their tamale on. There had been Mexicans who had left. There's so many explanations to that. How dare the viewer try to poke holes? You can do that in a lot of films, but not a Ryan Coogler joint. Not a Ryan Coogler. So for that alone, I really I just really appreciate how he shows new pieces of himself and his experiences and our experiences. Is very personal to us because he's one of us, right? He's not a Southerner, but he pulled on those Mississippi roots, honey. For this movie, he sure did reach way back to his great uncles and relatives before and just did them justice. He takes his time, does the research, and does us and our stories justice.
What do you think? What do you think made the film? And the other thing I want to say is Michael B. Jordan is a different actor with Ryan Coogler.
100%.
I was about to say, y'all said him reaching priesthood with Chadwick dying. I can remember seeing Fruitvale Station, and we did the same thing. We did the rituals. We knew for the last 10 minutes of that film, the entire theater was silent. I walked out, and I didn't speak when I walked outside. And when I saw somebody laughing crossing the street, I was mad. So I was pissed.
Mad.
You're not supposed to be. I'm grieved. Right. I just saw this moving film. Everything should stop. I've seen his craft grow. I've seen the actors grow, right? Think about Michael B. Jordan through these films too. He's different. And you said there's trust there, that he trusts folks to improvise. He trusts folks to draw on their own experience. He's rooted enough in his to allow people the space to be in theirs. And I think that made a big difference. I also think Ryan just loves Black people. And You see some
Yes.
people that don't. You see a movie, you're like, you don't like Black people. I believe that he really loves Black people.
Yeah.
I believe he loves
100%.
them.
Yes.
He does.
And he
I do.
loves us and believes and wants us to see the full humanity of ourselves. Because I think that there are filmmakers who think they love Black people, who really believe that they do, but they don't tap into our full humanity. They're not leading with emotion. Like they're some filmmakers, and also myself included as a writer, sometimes I write things that I'm like, this is my point. I'm not concerned with how you feel. Like, this is my point. This is the point that I want to communicate, right? And if you catch some feelings in the midst of that, oh, great. But he's concerned with a feeling and experience. And there are a lot of filmmakers who aren't concerned with that. And so that's why I think they miss the humanity of it. And you can kind of be like, specifically when writing Black women, you can see that sometimes.
Especially if the film is by a Black man.
Yeah.
They think they're doing it justice because they're Black, but they're not. They're missing the woman part.
Yeah. Like Thea said, it would have been easy to mammify Annie. Very easy.
Well, I do want to add one thing is my one challenge. And I saw all these critiques like, it should have been longer. It should have been this. When I think about loving Black people and all of our humanity, what I want to see also is, and I do think it will be a challenge for him, is to depict, to show, to open up space for us to also explore queerness. And so his lens is
that's coming in. Like I can bet money.
I'm ready. I will
put money.
That's coming in the next Black Panther. I agree.
I'm ready.
I agree.
I'm ready. I'm ready for that.
Not only would I be interested to see that, Stephanie, but there's a lot of love in the Black community for Ryan Coogler now, right? And if he brings that forward, right? Because there are already some pushback.
I think the church people have left the audience. They have left the
church people have left.
They already
have left. So now
left.
the gates are wide open for all the things.
Yeah.
Show us all the things now. Yeah,
we'll see.
So. Yeah.
Were they here?
See. Yeah. But
they were here for Black Panther only. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
Stephanie.
Appreciate you.
I really appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you.
I'm going to bring the
here.
spirit of Clem into this chat.
Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay,
I'm
girl.
going to usher in Clem.
Okay.
Clem says, who you should follow on TikTok, by the way. Clem has a great TikTok. You are not.
Clem the doula, I think, right?
Clem the doula.
You are Clem the doula.
We witness all facets of Black women. Pregnant, go get that money, cornbread. She did say that. She was like, how much you talking about?
So how much?
Having lost child,
I don't care what you call me.
Having lost a mother, Mary. Supporting the community, Mary's mother nurturing the twins, seductive Perline, protective Annie, the young girl watching the car.
All of it.
Clem said, I had a strong reaction to two scenes, the house with Smoke and Annie, and then the music scene. I felt transformed during those scenes. There was a vibration in those scenes that I had never experienced in a film. It was true. It was a surreal moment. It really, really was. You wanted to look around and be like, are we all still here? Did we go somewhere? It felt like we were transported. Seeing the ancestors of ours and the Chinese ancestors and the future, powerful. And there was also the moment when Stack tried to bite Smoke, but the Mojo Bag didn't allow it. Annie was still protecting him. She lived in a state of Black mother holding knowledge, not all the knowledge, and using it to help, protecting, supporting. And yes, the last scene of his death with Annie, Welcome Him, took me out. It did.
Yeah.
Also, Ryan gives all the flowers to Zinzi. It's true. In every episode, he talks about how she is the sole source of how he was able to show up in this film. She grounded him and was the partner that he carried throughout the process. The master class in marketing, 100%. Clem, 100%. This is what geeked me up about it, was when he did that, when he taught us about film. When it told me, as a director, he didn't just care about the film, he cared about how I would experience and engage the film. He gave me information he knew I wouldn't normally have, and then gave me all my choices. And that's never happened, right? The variations of the viewing experience, the IMAX 70 millimeter, and all the versions, including his explanation, masterclass. It's true.
Yes.
That's when I called Crystal and I was like, Crystal, what does this mean? Look at this. That's what I was telling everybody. That's when I bought my tickets.
I was really excited because when I saw when Thea was telling me, I hadn't seen the choices yet, and then I went and I looked up the choices, I was like, let me tell you something. The reason it's limited is because there aren't a lot of theaters that have the capability to show this film in this format. Nope. Because it's usually like not released. But to the marketing thing, I want to say that, you know, he's usually not this outspoken. He usually
he doesn't.
His actors usually lead with the marketing. He's not even on social media. But one of the things that he said was he felt like he had to do it more with this film because he felt like the context was important. That it was important to articulate the context. So I love that he's concerned with our experience.
Yeah.
He's really concerned with our experience.
And I love that kind of artist. I will pay money. I will support. Because a lot of artists don't have to care. They know we'll show up no matter what. This is how I feel about Beyonce, too. And there were a lot of parallels between the two of them and their thoughtfulness. I love an artist that cares about how I experience it. Because that is so thoughtful. And that shows that there's a relationship, right? Not just a transaction, but a relationship between us. He wants us to be with him all the way through his career. And he's giving us what we need to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Stacey's a dancer. Stacey of Nia's Daughters, a movement. And I wanted to know if you wanted to come on and talk about the juke joint scene. Where all the dancing is. Okay, shout out to Stacey because Stacey is helping coordinating our live event in Houston. This is our first live in-person event for Black Mama Creative Week. So shout out to Stacey. But Stacey, when I saw your name and I saw that you wanted to come on, I immediately thought of the movement in this film, and I wanted you to just talk a little bit about how you felt. Stacey's a dancer, a choreographer, an artist. I wanted you to talk a little bit about how you felt about that juke joint scene where Sammy sings and it goes through all types of music and dance. So as a dancer, I really wanted your perspective.
Thea, you just said the idea of genre bending. I think sometimes, like when you have dance training, we think of like you have this, and then you have this, and then you had the Ailey dancer who did ballet, and then you had some of the traditional dances. I think what's really important as a theme is that griot aspect, right? And Delta Slim understood that. If I think about the people I know in my life, I think that's also why he had the drinking issue, right? Because he probably sees ancestors, he probably sees spirit in so many ways, and is trying to figure out how to deal with it. And when I think about, like you said, Crystal, the film as a metaphor, and I think about how so many of us give up our responsibility and creativity, I want to be clear that I'm not saying that all art has to be respectable and perfect and like, you know, consumable by the masses. But I think about how many of us give up what that responsibility is when we think about ancestrally what art is supposed to do and what it's supposed to serve. And I think about like that continuum. Like I said, it felt like time stopped. Like we saw so many, and then it wasn't the whole Afrofuturistic theme of like time and space not being linear. It didn't go from like beginning to end. Like we saw beatboxers, but then we went right back to the continent, right? And so just understanding that creative responsibility is the thing, and how Delta Slim knew that Sammy was a griot the first time he heard him sing, period. And that's why I think that they wanted to get him. That's why Remnick and them wanted to get him, because they knew that he was a griot, and they know that if you can cut that off, right? So I think about initially our ancestors getting here, ban the drums. First stop. Full stop. What y'all not gonna do is drum. Okay?
Ban the drums.
And so that's what that was. It's like, and then you cut them off. And then you think about what we see in mainstream culture. Like, if you can cut off the spirit. And also, like, I loved your email. Like, okay, you can't have this conversation if you're not willing to talk about African spirituality, right? And how we try to, like, remove spirit from these dance forms. So I
Ooh, say it, Stacey.
recently, like maybe like a year or so ago, I read. Have y'all are y'all familiar with Intozaki? I'm bad at pronunciation. Shange, her book Dance We Do.
Intozaki Shange.
Yes, Intozaki Shange. Intozaki Shange, Four Colored Girls debuted on Broadway in 1976, and so I just feel like she is my creative ancestor. I read
Shout
for
out
Colored
1976,
Girls.
baby.
Shout out
That's what that's about, yeah.
1976. But ever since I was 15 years old, I have read for Colored Girls once a year around my birthday. I directed for Colored Girls in college. For Colored Girls is a rite of passage.
She did. I'm proof.
For every Black girl theater. If you was a Black girl in theater, you had to do a version of, you had to do for Colored Girls. I did it when my daughter was like, I'm doing for Colored Girls. I was like, it's your rites of passage. You're doing for Colored Girls. Like, yes, Intozaki Shange, Black Mama Creative Week is rooted in Intozaki Shange as
So y'all
as the
familiar with her
creative
book?
ancestor
She didn't finish it before she passed. Dance We Do, and she interviews different dance artists, and that's what some of them like begin their conversations with her about. Like, you can't talk about dance without talking about that integration of mind and body. And so just watching that scene, it was like, yeah, I felt like a renewed sense of responsibility in the work that we do as artists, as Black mothers who are creatives. That was the biggest thing.
I love that. I love you.
That's a question we were going to ask. We were going to ask in the end that you've spoken before we could even articulate, how did the movie inspire you as a Black creative, a Black mama creative? And that, I love that you articulate that for us.
I love that you said
I think also that scene allowed the camera to dance.
It did.
The camera was dancing.
One continuous shot.
They
rolled
crazy.
that camera around through the room.
That was crazy. It felt like the camera was dancing with everyone. It was really, by the time that fire took place, the roof was gone, I was like, we are not here anymore. We are not here anymore.
The roof is on fire. That's what I thought too. I was like, the roof is literally on fire. Like, sometimes directors can do a long shot, like a one shot, and it's like, you proved that you can do this. But he does it with such intention.
He does. He's really good at it.
After it was over, I was like, was that one shot?
That's right.
Was it? One shot. Also in Creed 1, the first fight scene is a one shot, and when he sees Bianca, when he goes into the club, it's a one shot. And so he has these moments where he does that, and it creates like such intimacy. And Stacey, I love when you said you can't take the spirit out of dance. And I was watching a tap dancer's interview. I forgot her name, but I have it saved, and I'll put the link in our show notes. And she talked about them taking away the drum. And she said, what I want people to understand is that when they took away the drum and she started moving her feet, and she was like, this didn't come out of nowhere. This is not, you might see that, but it was, tap was born out of, oh, we can't drum?
Right.
Okay.
Perline did that. When Perline, did you see when Perline was singing and dancing, and she started stomping, and that stomp that Perline kept doing, I was like, are we going to have another fire roof scene?
Yeah.
I'm reminded of that thigh tap again that Delta Slim was doing.
And that's what you talked about.
Right?
That's what you were talking about. Stacey? Take out the essence and then repackage it and sell it back to us. And when you think about, I'm sorry, Crystal.
I said that. Yeah,
that part.
That's because I Black people. Whenever I see some shit white people, I'm like, they are selling us back our own shit. I'll never forget.
But I knew that in mental health.
Without the soul.
I knew that in mental health. I used to say they take our strategies, meditation, yoga, like all kind. They take it and then they resell it, and they make you get a certification in it.
Yes, and getting the recertification, they pull apart the parts that
There's no soul in the other thing. It's completely watered down. Yeah. It's what they feel they can control.
Okay, I want to kind of ask y'all this question. It's related to Black motherhood, but okay, I wanted to get y'all's takes on the scene when Sammy was advised, like, baby, ain't nothing in Chicago for you. You need to go on to that Freedom Colony with the good Black people. And it's kind of related to like how Annie decided to stay in the rural South. Like Black people who decided to make the best of the South, stayed there, stayed rooted, created freedom colonies all throughout the South, right? So I'm in Texas, I'm in Houston. We have lots of freedom colonies here, and a lot of Black creative genius is from those freedom colonies. Alvin Ailey is from a freedom colony. My ancestors are from a freedom colony. DJ Screw is from Bastrop County, which is, you know, home of many freedom colonies. And I'm thinking about that Black creative genius. I'm curious what y'all think about that as we think about like different migration patterns. Black people are moving back to the South. We are trying to move to the continent. What do you think about that? Like placemaking, going, like, I just want to know what y'all thought about migration, pilgrimages, all the things in relation to
well,
the film.
How can I say? I think I think the freedom is in the choice. For some people, staying is the destiny, like Annie. For some people, leaving is the destiny, like Sammy. And the actual liberation comes in knowing you have a right to choose based on you. You know what I'm saying? And I think, like, if Sammy, can you imagine Sammy's life if he had stayed? Versus Annie's life if she had left, you know, really the freedom that they had was to choose. And that's the thing. People don't always think they can choose that. They don't always think they can choose. And that there's one that's more right than the other. We always going to need people that stay, and we always going to need people that go. That's just a reality. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like to be like diverse. For me, I found more freedom when I go. I find more freedom when I travel. I find more freedom when I'm in these spaces and I'm on this land that feels old and familiar and like more tapped into what feels true to me. But I also make peace with the fact that I'm from here. So there's things that I have to appreciate and love and accept about being from here too. So I think that's, for me, that's it. It's like I've learned that. Like I used to be like, I'm out, let's go. But now I understand, like, there will be both. You know, I think I talked about that in Bahareke. Some people will stay to know where the graves lay. We need that. We will need that. But some people will go because we are spreading also like plants and pollen and other things that travel, you know? So that's my take on it.
So for me, it's a return. So I always say I didn't know that I was a Southerner until I left the South. And I spent the first 18 years of my life dying to get out of the South. And now, from my cold dead hands, will you pry this dirt? Like, this is the space where I feel even when it's painful, I still feel a visceral connection that I simply cannot explain. And everyone may not feel that here. I think that what I see in Annie is what I hope that other people see in the South, is that there's knowledge here and there's wisdom that this land has, right? And that we cannot surrender the South to those that hunted us, right? This is our place. This is our home too. And when I used to talk about South Carolina, I used to say, the first is a seed from the Union and all of that. And I surrendered that history to the people who hunted us. But the Geisha Gully people are here. This is the home of Denmark Vancy. This is the home of Mother Emanuel.
Chadwick Boseman, right?
Chadwick Boseman. I think it's something like over 45% of Black people in America can trace their lineage. Michelle Obama's lineage is in Charleston, South Carolina. I just got chills. Like, I will not surrender the South to those who hunted us versus those who tilled and grew the soil. Like there's rich soil here. And so I'm often nervous about people making films about the South because we're often seen as flat characters with a dialect that people can't understand. And our brilliance is often undermined. My take on it is, don't let it be an escape as much as it is a return. Because when it becomes an escape, you're vulnerable to being a colonizer.
That's right.
And I think that you have to heal before you can really feel where that space is for you. Again, I had to leave the South. I had to go all the way west to streets and concrete and closeness to really understand, like, no, girl, you're a Southerner. Returning here made me a mother. Returning here made me understand the type of art and the type of work that I was supposed to do, right? But I had to heal in order to really understand that. And I had to like get some of my own stereotypical ideas about the South out of my head. You know, people would often say, oh, you're from the South? You don't have no Southern accent. You know, when I talk to my family, I do. Because there was a lot of running away from that for me, especially the industry that I, you know, wanted to be in. And so I just hope that people can see the brilliance of the South. The South is really the womb of Black culture. It's the womb. It's the womb. You came in 3 ways. You came in through the Gulf, South Carolina, and between Maryland and Virginia. That's the South. It's the womb. And you cannot heal this nation without healing the South. You know? So.
Crystal carried most of what I wanted to say. So Florida is a very complicated place to be from and to be at the same time. My family moved to, my parents moved to Florida when I was 1.5, so Florida's home, although our roots are in North Carolina. Early when I talked about Annie staying rooted in the community because there was healing to be done and there was the work was important. I wasn't talking about, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears type of work. I was talking about the conjure, the healing, the work she had to do to carry her people forward. I'm slowly coming into my own realization of that, where I don't necessarily want to be in Florida right now. I don't want to be. It's a complicated place to be in this time, but I recognize that there is so much that our people need here, and that some of that healing and some of that joy, to give a nod to Thea and her work, some of that needs to come through me in this season, in this place. And so I'm rooted here for that reason. Even though it's not comfortable to do so. I wish I could say my folks were from a freedmen's colony. I wish I could, honey. All the way the straight line that I've traced to go straight up, you know, from peonage, sharecropping, right to being enslaved. And that was where we were the whole way through. But I'm proud to be on this end of that line and being able to live out for my folks what freedom looks like in this day and age in a really special way. And so there is beauty, and it is just and it is noble to stay as much as it is to go. And I respect whatever people's choices are in that way. And just really am trying to make sure that this is not in vain. The staying and the returning for me and mine is not in vain. Yeah.
And Stacey, those freedmen colonies, they were created after enslavement, right?
What makes it a freedom colony usually is that it started like during Reconstruction all the way really to the Great Depression, you know, creating these Black settlements. So it's a little bit different than like a Black community versus like, and a lot of them are in the rural South, right? Purchasing acreages in rural areas and creating their own. So like, I was just thinking about like, having those choices, like y'all talked about having those choices and how those spaces often gave Black mothers an opportunity to raise their children in ways that they found valuable.
Thank you, Stacey. Okay.
Stacey, you were great. We can't wait to see you in person.
You want to let's read Clem's last thoughts because I think Clem's talking about how creativity came through for her
we can read
out of the movie.
and then we
Okay.
can close out.
Clem says, before I saw the movie, I was in a creative groove where I created a Black breastfeeding community rooted in music, Beyonce specifically. It's called The Gift of Breastfeeding Journey in Black and Culture. I was very scared about presenting it. I haven't really been really loud about it, just kind of quietly starting my offering. But after seeing Sinners and witnessing Ryan's creativity, I feel like I might need to be a bit louder. I've watched his interviews and he's talked about himself being scared or second guessing himself. But this movement and Sinners and how he presented it has me geeked about showing off what I've created. Otherwise, how will they know? This is the time for us to get our people together for us and forget the others. We got to make safe spaces for our experiences without the gaze and step into what we know and how we show up, not what whiteness has shown us as the standard. Ooh-wee. Congratulations, Clem, on that. Releasing that, birthing that baby and sharing it with the world.
I think it's like
so proud of you.
Well, thank you all. This has been great. Thank you to our listeners for joining us. To those who are listening, we'll have this opportunity again if you didn't get to join us this time. But thank you so much. Go see Sinners. Go see it as many times as you need to see it. And please, email us, share your thoughts. If you like something that you heard, subscribe, like, but also put it in quotes in the comments so we can know what resonated with you. And it's being released again today, May 15th. Okay, so go see it. All right.
Are we wrapping?
We are wrapping. We are wrapping. We are wrapping.
Follow us on Instagram at Dim Black Mamas Podcast. And if you don't want to miss a minute of the magic, sign up for our recently revamped newsletter. The Mothership, which includes reflections on the conversations we've been having and hearing. And we also share a collection plate cause where we'll spotlight causes and initiatives that resonate within our community. Thea?
And don't forget to check out our website, www.dimblackmamas.com/Remy. Dim Black Mamas is a conversation.
It is not /Remy, people.
It is not /Remy. It's not. I'm just teasing. Take the / off. Send us your thoughts about the show. Show us some love and ask us some questions at magic@dimblackmamas.com.
And I will never let a dog lick me in the face, but let me hush.
He didn't lick me in the face.
He licked your face. He licked your face.
He did it just now. He did it.
Lakeisha, am I seeing things?
But I bobbed you.
Lakeisha, am I seeing things?
I can't. I wasn't looking at that moment. I might have missed it.
You didn't see
I
it.
didn't see it.
So let me hush, though. Be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Rate and review us. And don't forget to check out our merch of the month, our Black Mama Magic card deck.
Yes.
And in closing, maintain
abundance.
Expect.
Wait, what? I go last. One more time. Run that back. I'm going to go last.
It wasn't on you, Nikisha, though. Because somebody wasn't focused.
Second.
Somebody wasn't focused.
No,
and they didn't come in on time.
They
didn't come in on time. But you didn't come in on time.
I forgot what your word was, and so I spoke too soon. Go ahead.
Thank you, Nikisha, for making it appropriate. It's not always about...
It's me. It was me.
And in closing, maintain.
Expect.
Abundance.
All right. Namaste.
And what Remy said. Mm-hmm. That's it. We ain't got no more. Crystal.
Namaste.
Say that.
That's all.
Namaste.
We ain't got no more.
Love you. Love you guys.
Love everybody.